Hello and welcome to another episode of the Super Soul Model series. I'm your host, James Granström, and thank you so much for tuning in. Today's episode is why pain is your best teacher. Guys, huge thanks to you for tuning in today, and I'm very happy to be bringing you this episode because this is very transformative, like all my other shows, but it's also quite an indicator of healing, which is really important because we all need to heal and grow so that we can be the best version of ourselves, and we can only do that when we look at our pain and we look at the contrast in our lives and we look at some of the moments where we suffer and how we learn and grow from those positions, because growth is really the topic of today. It's so important, and it's how we grow as individuals, how we grow mentally, how we grow emotionally, and how we grow spiritually as individuals into our community and into the world at large, which is so important because people count on you. You don't even know that people are counting on you, but people are counting on you because what you're bringing to the table is your energy, and what your energy that you bring to the table affects the whole. So the better you feel, the more whole you feel, the more whole you bring of yourself. That's why the old and ancient words, they use the words holy, but that just means a sense of wholeness. So when you come from a sense of wholeness, you're adding huge value to the world. And what the world needs is more people who are just themselves, whole, happy, and complete with themselves. You will be always incomplete in terms of your journey as a human spirit, but you can be holy in knowing that you are happy with yourself. And that is the goal. The goal is happiness, and you can choose that on a moment-to-moment basis. However, it's usually our pain that has to give us an indication in order to start that journey back to recognizing and recollecting who we really are at our core, which is beautiful, which is loving, which is happy, which is natural. So today's show, I'm just going to talk about a few things that can outline why pain is important. And then I'm going to talk about how you can get and utilize some practical tips about how you can use any pain that you may be feeling right now to be able to move forwards. And then, of course, but our most important course is why. Why is the beginning of where we must start. Well, suffering, pain, contrast, whether it be in a financial sense that you might have had, or it might be a relationship that seems to have ended or is proposing to be challenging right now, or maybe it's even your job, or maybe it's even something physical in your body. This is important because it's an indicator to show you that something is a little bit off, and it's helping you indicate what's important to you, maybe how you can see things a little bit differently, how you can choose to see it from perhaps a new and higher perspective. Because when you are able to do that, what happens is your mind will direct your body, and as your mind is seeing something from a fresh new perspective, the emotions in your body begin to change, and it begins to settle down, and it begins to heal. And so changing your perspective is a very healing thing, and sometimes pain that we feel is important for us to indicate that something we've done is not in alignment with ourselves, with our higher perspective. And if we're able to be aware enough to recognize that pain and think, maybe I'm seeing this from a limited perspective rather than an unlimited perspective. The difference between being in a 2D version of me looking straight down here and versus the bird's eye view, which is the higher perspective. If you can come from a higher perspective, what's going to happen is you're going to change the way you feel, and your body's going to respond differently as a result, because when your thoughts direct your feelings, and your feelings get stored in the body, and the better you feel, the better life gets. And that's how you begin to alleviate pain and begin the healing process, which is super important for all of us. We've all been through it. Pain is really important because it can help you set your values about what's important. Maybe it's your current financial position, which you know you want to be in a better position, so you're valuing what you're outputting and adding value to in the world. Maybe it's your relationships, and Maybe you haven't been investing too much time in your relationships and your personal relationships, and as a result they've suffered. So maybe, and maybe it's in that term, or maybe it's in terms of your health, that you really haven't given yourself much self-love and self-care, and because of that your body begins to break down, or suffer a little bit, or you begin to feel some aches and pains. But if you were able to take on some new ideas, like maybe taking up yoga, doing a little bit more stretching, that could help alleviate some things. Maybe it's going to see a chiropractor once a week. Maybe it's changing your diet, for sure. Maybe it's drinking a lot more water. And if it's in your relationships, maybe it's how you show up in your relationships. Are you always complaining, or are you an appreciator? Because if you're complaining, you're going to get more of that. If you're looking for the worst in the other people, or at least seeing that more regularly, then that's what's going to keep repeating at you. So whatever you focus on grows. So if you're focusing on the best in other people in your relationships, that's what you're going to get. And if you're focusing on the worst in other people, that's what you're going to get. And maybe it's your work, and in your work, perhaps your work is satisfying to some level or completely unsatisfying. But maybe it's time that you try and make the best of how you show up in your work while you start another venture, because you don't want to lose out on the money that you could be making through your job. Or maybe you've been laid off completely, and if you've been laid off completely, can you use this time to bring in some more money in another way? Maybe it's time for you to get creative and tap into that skill set. All of us have skills and talents, and some of them are dormant, and it's usually when we experience a bit of pain, or we get given an extended period of time of silence or solitude, you're able to recognize some of those skills and talents, because your life is not too active and busy. And particularly during this time of lockdown and quarantine, it's been a lot of time for you to reflect about seeing what your skill sets are and what your talents are, and how you can operate from them and be able to uplift not only yourself but other people with your skill sets and talents. And know you're good enough, man, because that's the most important thing. Know you're good enough. Know you're good enough to share your skills and talents with the world, and maybe sell them and market them in a way that creates a new avenue of income for you. So that's super important. So it's important to look at what you value, and pain helps you realize what you value, because when you know what you value, you know that now you're beginning to be clear about what it is you want. I remember in the past, I was doing the exact opposite of what I did now. I was undisciplined. I wasn't well read. I wasn't well versed. I made poor life choices in terms of drinking excessively, taking drugs, party drugs, just living, thinking that you're living on an aesthetic plane of, oh, that's very nice. But, deep down inside, you're choosing habits, you're choosing things that don't serve you. And hence the pain that I felt as a result. I was just using things to stimulate me, but they weren't filling up my soul, they weren't filling up my heart. What they were doing was they were trying to fill a void, but that void can never be filled, because the pain I was feeling was trying to use external circumstances to fill me up, not myself. And it was only for me when the pain that I had subsided was because I began to fill myself up emotionally, physically, spiritually, mentally, with food and solitude and meditation and diet and exercise and stretching and all these kind of wonderful new habits that I never used to do. They made such a profound impact for me, and they can for you. You just got to see where your pain is, recognize it, and ask yourself the question, how can I best love myself and move forwards? How can I best love myself and move forwards? Because if you're asking that question, you're going to get the answer, and when you ask better questions, you get better answers. Because if you're experiencing pain, what it means is it's a time for you to reflect. It's a time for you to go within. And pain is temporary, but it's how you see it that can change the difference between making it heal quickly and slowly. Pain, suffering, and contrast, this is all the same thing. it helps you get clear of what it is you now want. And that's important because you need to move forwards, and pain can keep you stuck. So when you're stuck, you feel immobilized. I mean, that can be physical, but it can also be emotional as well. You could be stuck in a relationship that's not serving you, or you could be stuck physically, and you might be stuck with a leg problem and you're not being able to move forwards. I often see this analogy. It happened particularly with me within my own life. I used to fall over quite a lot when I was drunk. And for me, I see that pain was using drink to fill me up, and at least try and fill my void to numb the pain. But it never numbed the pain. It just accentuated it in those moments when I was sober, which was very little, because when I was sober, I knew I was going to do it all over again because I needed to numb the pain. And so your life gets completely topsy-turvy, and it's super important for you to recognize that if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, you're going to keep getting the same results. And that's that's idiotic. And I was one of those once upon a time. But T. Harv Eker says, every master was once a disaster. And I love that. Not that I'm a master as such, but my own experience has been my best teacher. And that is what will be for you as well, as you can begin to become aware of the pain, the suffering, and the little contrasting moments that you have, and recognize them as teaching moments, as lesson moments, because every lesson or every challenge that presents itself always has a silver lining. And that's what pain's all about. It's an opportunity to see things from a different perspective. It's an opportunity for you to learn a lesson and move forward fairly quickly if you can. But it takes courage, and it takes discipline, and it takes spirit to be able to move forwards. But you've always got a helping hand. You've always got your inner being. You've always got this larger aspect of yourself that you can tune into, that bird's eye perspective of yourself. And as you do that, or as you check in with yourself through things like meditation and prayer, what you're going to find is that you can allow that sense of you to be guided a lot more easily. And a lot of us don't do that because it's not what everyone else is doing. It's a social conditioning that we have, that this is just the way we go. I mean, the reason why I felt so much pain was because I felt like I was in a social conditioning hypnosis of everybody going to the pub at the weekend, and that's just what everyone did. And you go out, you get drunk, and you come back legless, and that's just what everyone did. And that's what I did. But I found myself finding extreme pain by doing that excessively over and over again. It was like my body couldn't take it, my mind sure couldn't take it, and I could feel my spirit dying within me, that light inside just going, I don't know how to get out. But it's when you ask better questions, or you ask for help, whether it's just to the life, it's to, your inner being, to source energy, to anything, God, whatever you want to call it, just ask for help and it will come. And it will come in the form of maybe a book, it will come in the form of maybe a podcast like this. It will come in the form of untold, a person that shows himself up in your life. That's why when the student is ready, the master appears. And the reason being is because when you ask that question, then the answer comes along. But if you're not asking that question, which is, how can I get from where I am to where I want to be and live better and feel happier? When you ask those type of questions, you're going to get the answers. And when you ask, like, why is my life going bad? Why is this going wrong? Why am I doing this? Why is X doing such and such? Why are they causing me so much pain? Well, the answer is that they're a reflection of how you're feeling, because like I had a couple of weeks ago on the show, which is ask better questions, you will get better answers. So start using your mind to train yourself to ask better questions, and then get feeling receptive to hear the answer that you've asked, because it will come in an unknown, unusual way that you'll be able to understand. For me, when I first started my journey, when I was feeling real pain and knew I needed to change just pretty much about everything about my character, particularly about my disciplines, particularly about the way I was living, which was like very undisciplined, I got a book, and I received a book in the post from a friend who said, I think you'll enjoy this book. And that was the beginning of my journey for me, and that was very helpful. And maybe that will be the same for you, or maybe this is the first time you're hearing or listening to these words. This is a wake-up call. This is saying you're headed in the right direction. Now it's time for you to ask better questions. Other thing that you're going to find from having pain and suffering is it's going to not only help you see what you value more importantly, it's going to help you know what you want more clearly, which is everything. Because when you know what you want more clearly, you're going to move in that direction. The mind needs something to move towards. So if you know what you want, then you can move towards it. But if you just have like a whole load of experience and you don't know what it is you want, you're going to have to find out loads of things that you don't want to know what you do want. And Abraham Hicks says this, and I love it. It's like you're still in the data collection zone. So when you're young and you're not sure, so maybe you're a teen watching or listening to this podcast, what you might find is that I don't know what it is that I want yet. Well, experience life, live it, enjoy it, and find out what you like from it and find out what you don't like. And when you know what you don't like, then you know what you do like. And it's really important to know what you do like, because as you do, you're like the ship in the harbour turning, and it turns slowly, but then it knows its course, which is, I like this, this is where I want to go. And the people who are focused and successful is because they know what they want, they know what they're going for, and they know their outcome. And the shortcut is just know what you want and know your outcome, and feel good as you move and talk in that direction. And as you do, your ship will turn. It sounds quite simple, but in reality, as you do it, it seems a lot more challenging and requires a lot more courage, because it's like you're taking a new adventure. It's like you're just going to the airport for the first time and you're going traveling, and there's a few places that you're going to visit, but you don't know where everything is, but you find out as you go along. And that's very much like life. And that's what we signed up for as spiritual beings having a human experience. We signed up for the adventure. We signed up for the growth, and we can only have growth through contrast. You need to have water, you need to have rain, you need to have the sunshine. And as you do have that, and you need to have night, and you need to have the daylight, and you need to have darkness. And so the contrast can be seen as the darkness, and the daylight can be seen as you're growing. But either way, when you sleep, for instance, you are recharging your body, you're rebuilding your body, you're regenerating your body, you're releasing resistance as you go to sleep, which allows your natural vibration to raise. And pain stops whilst you sleep. But what happens is you're growing. And that's why it's important to realize, just like in nature and in the cycles of life, there must always be yin and yang. There must always be opposites. And you've got to make peace knowing that there must always be opposites, because you realize that it's everywhere, innate and inherent around the world and in nature, that everything has opposites. And we need to grow, and we want to grow as human beings and as people. And we get the best of ourselves when we make mistakes or have challenges and come back better, because it's part of the innate human story, or the hero's journey. You have a challenge, you learn, and then as you're learning, you experience greater challenges, and as you overcome those challenges, you then become someone who's experienced how to navigate through those treacherous waters and come back and be able to share how you did it and you overcame it. And that's what the purpose of this podcast is. Not that I know all the answers, but what I do know is this: pain is an indicator, contrast is temporary, but how you feel and remaining optimistic as you move in the direction as you want to go, that is up to you. That is your choice. If you want to stay stuck, that is, again, your choice. How do you move forwards when you're stuck? The answer to that is you can't. You can't move forwards when you're stuck, because if you think you're stuck, you are stuck. So how do I move forwards from this position of being stuck? The answer is, how do you get unstuck? But the question you really need to be asking yourself is, why can I move forward easily? Why can I move forward in positive and new directions? Because now you're focused in a completely different way, and the mind begins to rewire and reorientate and recalibrate where you're going. A lot of people won't ask that. Why is this happening to me over and over again? That's because you keep asking the question, why is this happening to me over and over again? Why am I moving forwards in positive new directions? Or why can I move forwards in positive new directions? And start talking about where you want to go. That is now like getting out your map saying, I'm in London and I want to go to Newcastle. Newcastle is the destination, and you know you're not going to be there instantaneously, but you realize that as you're looking at where you're going and you look at the signposts of where you're going, that's where you're going. There are 3 tenets to our being: freedom, growth, and joy. We want to have a sense of freedom. That's going to be emotionally, physically, spiritually, financially. That is huge for us as human beings, because freedom allows us to express ourselves, it allows us to be ourselves, it reduces complete restriction and allows us to enjoy infinite possibilities. And whenever we feel restricted from freedom, we always rebel. I was very rebellious as a kid. I'm sure lots of people are. But I knew I wanted to do things my own way. I knew I wanted to learn. I feel like for me and my personality and my soul journey, that I needed to learn through my own experience. And yes, people could tell me along the way, but there's a teaching moment, and that is not when you feel bad. And in order to enjoy greater freedom, we need to allow that larger part of ourselves to be free, unlimited, and unrestricted. I feel for me, freedom is a huge part of my life. I love to be able to travel freely, enjoy meeting new people, enjoy working in different environments. I thrive off having a sense of freedom. I thrive off, having a remote business now. I thrive off being able to be anywhere I want to be. That is great. But in freedom, you need to be disciplined. And if you are feeling pain or having suffering, maybe it's a call for you to learn some disciplines. That was my journey. My journey is to learn and implement some serious disciplines into my daily life, routines, rituals, things that help you get organized so that your life is structured. An unstructured mind or an unstructured life may feel free, but remember there'll be loads of weeds in there. But if you're able to be disciplined, it's almost like you're manicuring your lawn. You're taking care, you're the constant gardener. And that is what I like to see myself as. Previously, I used to be like a wild and free, but I found that in the undisciplined young mind that I used to have, what I'd find is that I wouldn't be able to manage properly. It would be good, but then it would be right out of control. And if you want to bring your mind back in and enjoy greater freedom in your life, you need to implement some disciplines into your life. And that is inherent with every human being, having a sense of discipline. Growth is particularly important. So you've got freedom, growth, and growth is particularly important because we need to grow, because then we're going to learn about how amazing we really are. We grow from challenges. We learn how to navigate through life when we have challenges. Not that you want challenges all the time, but you're going to be challenged because that's just the way life's set up. But it's how you find the solutions and how you move in the directions of the solutions that you're going to find out what you're really made of. And that, my friends, is incredibly satisfying for you as an individual. And other people will benefit from your growth. Everyone benefits from someone who's come back having learned from an experience and come back better. Like everybody loves a comeback. And that is just basically the hero's journey. You are your own hero, and you learn through your challenges, you learn through the contrast, you learn through your suffering. And as you wake up and as you start choosing new things to help your life, maybe reorientate your mindset again, maybe change your diet, maybe change some relationships, maybe change a group of friends, maybe get super organized with your finances and do something you've never done before. As this pain subsides, you'll realize you're moving in the right direction because you've made better choices. Growth comes from making better choices. And joy, our final tenet, there are 3 tenets to our being. Joy is important because after suffering comes joy. How are you going to know what suffering is if you don't know the opposite, which is joy? You know, with sadness, the opposite of joy is sadness. When you're experiencing pain, you know that it's just something that's happening in the moment. But as you begin to make better choices, as you begin to move in the direction of where you want to go, as you begin to see life from a better perspective, a higher perspective, as you begin to choose to take care of yourself in new ways, what's going to happen is you're going to move towards joy. And as you experience more joy, you're going to be of greater benefit to mankind, because the higher your vibe, the more you set the tone of wherever you go. And the highest vibe always wins. Have you ever gone into a boardroom, or you ever gone into a party, or have you ever gone into a meeting and realised that the happiest person is the one who's always setting the tone? So the happier you are and the better you feel, that is the tone that you're broadcasting out to the world. That is the tone you're broadcasting out to the people in the meeting or the boardroom or wherever you are. And that tone is the highest, and highest always wins. So get to joy, find things that make you feel joyful, even when you're experiencing pain. And that's the hardest, because it's the biggest vibrational jump. And after you grow, as you grow, you're going to experience more joy, because, you know, the plant needs to grow. You know, we go to the gym to build muscles by tearing the muscles. And as we tear the muscles, they're under stress. And like as human beings, when we get under stress, we're calling out for what we now want, which is the opposite of what we're experiencing. And then we have to nourish our mind, body and soul to be able to fill up that muscle, very much like in our life, so that it can come back stronger and better than before. That is why the gym is such a great analogy that you can use, and tearing a muscle and building a muscle is so important. You can see the analogy in life. You know, we are such incredible human beings. We can morph to anything. Our body can take such a battering, you know, of punishment, but you can go an easier way. You can live more fluidly. And challenges and contrasts will present themselves. Pain will present itself on occasion, but it's just an indication that your thinking may be off. And as you recognize what you've been thinking when you've been experiencing this pain, what you might find is that you might reorientate your thinking and start again. I love Louise Hay. She came up with the principle in her little blue book, which turned up to heal your life and heal your body. She came up with that certain thought forms laid emotional imprints in the body. And like if you've got a pain in the neck, who's causing you a pain in the neck? And I love that. So if I stub my toe or something like that, I recognize that my thinking is off. So that pain is a stinger, and then it's like relax, recharge, calm down, settle down, and then the pain begins to subside. Now, if you have something a little bit more serious going on inside the body, maybe it's an opportunity to spend some time in silence. Maybe it's an opportunity to spend a bit more time in meditation and prayer. And maybe it's time to get clear on thinking in some new ways and envisioning your life the way you want it to go rather than the way it's been. This all seems quite, I don't want this to sound too frivolous or too easy, because I know that some challenges are rather intense. But what I do want to say is that it usually starts with thinking differently first. And as you begin to think differently, things will eventually begin to morph, because everything has to start with a thought. And after the thought may come a feeling, and after the feeling may come an action. Because remember, when you think differently, you begin to feel differently, and as you feel differently, you begin to vibrate differently, and as you begin to vibrate differently, you affect the universe. But we're not taught that in schools. You're taught this when you ask deeper questions like, who am I? Why am I here? What is my purpose? Is there more to life than just this? And the answer to that is, yes, there is. There is way more to life than you can possibly imagine. But you first starts with a question. And when you ask the question, you will get the answer. And a lot of people around the world are not asking those questions, so they won't get the answers. And it is not your job to tell them the answers. It is your job to turn up and be the best version of yourself and emanate the understanding, the wisdom and the experience of that. Because as you do, you become a conduit of light, a conduit of love, a conduit of health and vitality, hopefully a conduit of balance. and abundance. And that's what is important. You inspire people through your example, through how you've lived, through your comebacks. That's how you inspire people. And you give them permission to do that for themselves. So do it for yourself. And in doing so, having done it for yourself and having your own experience, you will light up the world. You will light up your world. You will light up your sphere of influence, your family, friends, and peers, and give them permission to do it for themselves. And in turn, that will circle around like positive ripple effects going out across the planet. And that's what's important. The importance is turn up in the world, be that best version of yourself by learning and understanding more about how you can function and how you can use some of the challenges that you experience to your benefit, and start to look for silver linings. Choose to be someone who recognizes that life isn't just happening to you, it's happening for you. And that's what's really important. You are a creator, you are not a victim. Sometimes it will feel like you're a victim, but you've got to get out of that mentality. And as soon as you get out of that mentality, there is freedom. And that is one of the tenets of our being. And after that freedom, there comes growth, and then there comes joy. And that's what this episode's been all about today. I hope you've enjoyed the episode. I hope there's been some amazing insights in here for you to at least ponder, think, to take on board, and just allow the information to digest in with you. You know, for me, sometimes I'd be thinking something for so long, like 2 years before I'm able to actually do something about it. It was about 2 years before I actually stopped drinking completely, because my pain was so great that I actually managed to do it. And that was an easy process when I got going, but I needed to ask the questions first, and then I needed to have my own experience, and then the solution came so easily and so naturally. And it's been great for me to live with such health and vitality for so long, and just accept this as a norm. If I don't feel amazing, something's off with me. And you know, I want to share that with you, and I want to share you that if I can do it, you can do it. So not to say that there are not going to be challenges along the way. There will always be challenges in life. There will always be contrasts, because there's always day and night. But use your mind to look for silver linings. Use your mind to see growth. Use your mind to see all the goodness that still lies, despite sometimes there might be rain, despite there might be sometimes thunderstorms in your life. But you understand, you get the message. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. Sending you lots of love and appreciation. If you like this podcast, please subscribe and share it with people who will appreciate it, who you think will uplift and inspire in some way, shape or form. And as always, I wish you green lights all the way.